Hey everybody, it's Miss C again, and today we are continuing with day 2 of weather. We're going to be talking about clouds. Yesterday we talked about what causes weather, we talked about the air around us, and we also talked about air pressure and changes in that cause weather. So we found out 3 big things. We found out that weather takes place in the layer of the atmosphere closest to the Earth's surface, and changes that cause that weather are dependent on humidity, air temperature, and air pressure. And air pressure is a combination of humidity and air temperature. And so changes in that cause changes in weather. Well, today we're going to backtrack a little bit in our fusion book, and we're going to start on page 246. Because we are talking about clouds, and clouds start with the water cycle. And I know that you know a whole lot about the water cycle, so this is going to be an easy review. So, water on the move. The water that you drink may have once been underground or high in the sky. How does water get from Earth's surface to the air and back again? Earth's water is always being recycled. It evaporates from bodies of water, the soil, and even from our skin. Water exits plants' leaves through a process called transpiration. In air, winds and clouds can help move water from one place to another. After it rains, we have a bird bath picture, and it's filled with water. When the sun comes out, what's going to happen to that water in the bird bath? The sun comes out, it's very, very hot. It's going to be shining down on the bird bath. It says, when the sun comes out, its energy heats the water. The bird bath becomes empty as water changes to water vapor and returns to the atmosphere. About 3/4 of Earth's surface is covered by water. Most of the water is stored in oceans. Water moves between Earth's surface and the atmosphere through a process called the water cycle. The sun provides the energy for water to move through the water cycle. Sunlight heats up water particles near the ocean surface. It causes water to evaporate, so it's going up into the sky in a gas form. Evaporation is the change from a liquid to a gas. When water evaporates, it forms an invisible gas called water vapor. So think about that pot of pasta that you have that you're so excited to eat for dinner. You look over at the stove and you see something coming off the water at the top. That steam is water vapor. So that water is heating up so much that now it is turning into a gas. So it's going from liquid to gas. The atmosphere is the mixture of gases that surround Earth. In the atmosphere, water vapor cools to form clouds. At any time, about 3/5 of Earth's surface is covered by clouds. Wow. So we have this awesome diagram. It shows us evaporation to condensation, transpiration also to condensation, and then it goes over to the clouds. Can you find the clouds in the picture? And what's going to happen when all of that condensation builds up and the cloud gets really heavy? It's going to precipitate, it's going to rain down. So we see that the clouds are raining down and precipitating. Over here on the mountain, we have more precipitation. And that water is going to run down the mountain. It's going to run down the mountain through this lake, or through this river to this lake. And then it is going to move across the land, and that is called surface runoff. And then it's going to maybe go underground too. And maybe it's going to stay as groundwater, but eventually it will find its way back to the ocean or a lake, where it'll get heated up by the sun, and it'll be evaporated, and it'll all start again. So we know that whatever goes up into the air must also come down. So on our next page, 248, what happens to water vapor after it rises into the air? How does it become puffy white clouds or raindrops that fall on your head? So we are going to learn about condensation today, because clouds are made up of condensation. Condensation, think again of the ocean. Water from the ocean's surface evaporates. As water vapor rises into the atmosphere, it cools. When water vapor loses enough energy, it condenses to form liquid water. Condensation is the change of a gas into a liquid. So we had our lake, we had our ocean, and that was a liquid. It heated up, it moved around, got all that energy from the sun, and it turned into a gas. And now it's up in the air. And now that it's up in the air, it's starting to cool down again. So it's cold up in the atmosphere away from the Earth's surface, and it's starting to condense. So it's starting to turn back into a liquid from a gas. And so because now it is a liquid in the air, it has to go somewhere. So it changes into a liquid and then it falls as water droplets. So water vapor condenses around these particles to form water droplets. A few water droplets are almost too small to see. However, when billions of droplets are close together, they form clouds. Clouds can be made up of water droplets, ice crystals, or both. They can form high in the sky or just above the ground. Fog is a cloud that forms near the ground. Water vapor condenses around salt and dust particles in the air to form these water droplets. Water vapor may condense on cool surfaces too. It's why the cool glass below seems to sweat or sweat. Dew is water droplets that form on objects near the ground. So have you ever gone outside early in the morning and you walk through the grass and it's cold and your feet are now really, really wet? That's dew, and that is forming on objects near the ground. So that was once a gas also, that dew, but now it cooled down, it attached to a salt or a dust particle, and now it's a liquid, and now it's coming down back to the earth. So water droplets in a cloud collide and join together. It takes many droplets to form a single raindrop. So we have our clouds formed by condensation. Then we have our precipitation, and that is air currents keep water droplets in the air. But as droplets and snow crystals grow inside clouds, they become too heavy and fall to Earth as precipitation. Precipitation is water that falls from clouds to Earth's surface. Rain, snow, and hail are all forms of precipitation. Precipitation that falls into the oceans may quickly evaporate back into the atmosphere. Precipitation that falls on land may be stored. It may flow across the land, or it may be used by living things. Depending on where it falls, water from precipitation may move quickly or slowly through the water cycle. All right, so we are going to talk about the water cycle real quick, and then we're going to go outside and check out some clouds. So let's talk about the water cycle. So clouds are formed through the water cycle. We start with the water here in a river or a lake, and we see that surface runoff goes into the river and the lake. These arrows show that the sun is heating up the water that's sitting here, and then it turns into a gas. So it evaporates into the air, and now we have water vapor floating around in the air. And we just learned about humidity, and we know that when there is lots of water vapor in the air, there is high humidity. So up in the air, we then have the water vapor, and as it gets higher and higher in the air, it gets colder and colder in temperature. So once it is cold in temperature, the gas is going to condense into a liquid. So that's when we get our clouds. It is starting to condense. This is called condensation. And once it condenses, it then is going to get pretty heavy up there, and it's turning back into a liquid, and now it's going to fall back down to earth, and this is called precipitation. We have our tree here. We also know, in addition to evaporation, that water can be transpired. So that means that this tree is going to be giving off little droplets of water that are then going to be also going into the air as water vapor. Okay, so now that we just reviewed our water cycle, let's go outside